Hello everyone and welcome back to another ChessTube episode. In today's video we're going to be discussing about the London system and how we can tackle the Dutch defense. Because we already covered in great depth what's happening after black goes d5, so then I think it makes a lot of sense to see what happens if black tries to do something else. So one example would be f5 at the first move, which is the Dutch defense. So by the way, if you haven't seen the other videos regarding the London system series, make sure to check out the description of this video in case you miss any video on that. So against the Dutch defense, there are plenty of systems that you can go for, but since this is a series dedicated to the London system, we're going to see specifically what happens if white tries to play in the same fashion. So this would mean the move bishop to f4. So the good news about this is it's not only sticking to our kind of typical ideas in the London system, but the line is actually pretty ambitious, objectively speaking. So I've seen a lot of strong grandmasters using this line against the Dutch. So I would divide the Dutch in like two big systems. So after knight f6 e3, there are players using the e6 Dutch, and there are players using the g6 one. So especially against this bishop f4 system, I think objectively speaking, the best Dutch that black can go for is with e6. But in this video, we're going to cover what happens if black plays the move g6, which is also very, very common. So after g6, this is very important. This is exactly why we started with this move to e3, because we're trying to combine it with this aggressive h4 push. So notice that the queen is eyeing the h5 square, so we can think to play h5 on the upcoming move. So by the way, we're going to be analyzing the game played between Grachev Boris and Krakovsky Maciej from 2020. So now black usually plays the move bishop to g7. He can also go for the h6 move, but that's going to be the topic of an upcoming video on the channel. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification so you're not going to miss that video. And after h6, we're going to see what's happening. White has a very interesting idea that I'm not going to spoil, so stay tuned for that. But after bishop to g7, this allows exactly the move h5. So now after knight takes on h5, the point is to go rook takes h5 and just sacrifice the exchange. So this idea is also seen sometimes in the fianchetto variation when black tries to play for the king's Indian, but here it's even an improved one because the queen comes on h5 with check. So now black has to play the move king f8. White picks up another pawn with queen takes f5, and after king g8, white simply continues development with knight c3, preparing to castle long. Now we have e6 by black. Now the move queen to h5, simply sidestepping the attack of the pawn. d5 by black. At this point, white is already much better, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to try to find a lot of alternatives for black. It's important just to simply see how white plays this and how he's developing his initiative. Despite the fact that he is down in exchange, he's simply having much better coordination of his pieces. So just notice how white's pieces are playing together really nicely. So now I have the move castle long by white, knight to c6, and now white develops the knight to f3. So white's simply trying to finish up his development. Bishop d7 by black was played, and now white goes for bishop to d3, developing the bishop to an active square, eyeing the h7 pawn, and maybe even preparing moves such as rook h1 or potentially a knight to g5, creating a double threat of queen to f7 and then bishop takes on h7. So black has to try to do something about it, and therefore the move queen e8 comes into play. And here it's important just as a mindset here, because you're down in exchange, you generally don't want to trade the queens, because the fact that you're down in exchange is not really felt in this position with the queens on the board, because you can create a lot of dynamic threats. But once the queens are off the board, you're going to make black's life way easier. And at this point, his problem is that he can't really get his h8 rook in the game, and his king is quite vulnerable. So this would not be the case if you are going to trade queens. So very important to just keep the queens on. And yeah, if you keep the queens on the board, black is going to be struggling a lot. So queen g5, very important move. Queen e7. Again, don't trade the queens. Just don't do that, okay? I mean, it's not good. Queen to g3. Simply keeping the queens on the board. After the move, bishop to e8. White is breaking in the center. So you can try to pause the video because this is an instructive moment where you know, white kind of finished his development and he has to take some concrete actions. So yeah, here you need to find the plan to break through for white. So if you pause the video, the move was e4, trying to open up the position and taking advantage of the fact that white has all of his pieces developed while black's rooks are not really participating into the game. So now I have the move knight b4 by black, e takes d5, and e takes on d5. If knight takes d3 intermezzo would happen, rook takes d3, e d5. White can simply take the pawn on d5 with a winning position because queen e1 is not a playable move because knight takes on e1 will happen. So this would be also not good for black, so therefore he just recaptures on d5. White plays simple and effective bishop f5. Creating the threat of going rook e1 next. We have bishop to d7 by black, but that's not stopping white from playing rook to e1. Queen f7, bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, and now the move bishop to h6, creating this, you know, I mean, actually putting pressure on this pleasant pin on the g file. So here, just to highlight white's winning idea, let's say black does nothing, okay? Because you may be wondering how's white going to win this if, okay, black just waits. So if he plays something like a6, white has more moves to win this position, but like the most beautiful one, I find it to be rook e6. So the main point of that is just to play knight e5 next. And then the queen is, you know, it's tied to defend that bishop, and then the queen will have actually no squares to defend it anymore, so this will win the queen. Because if you're going knight e5 now, black will have this queen e7 move available, and then it's like still completely winning for white, but not entirely obvious, you know, how to win it. So after rook e6, this is the threat of a5, knight e5. The queen has to leave. Obviously, if it takes the rook, then you mate on g7. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this idea. I think it was really beautiful and instructive, this rook e6 move. So we have king f8 in the game, and now white simply starts really energetic play and brings his pieces with tempi. So queen f4, queen f7, takes on g7, king takes, queen g5. If queen g6, there is at the very least queen e7, checking the king and picking up the b4 knight, ending up in a position with two pieces and a pawn for a knight, which is winning for white mathematically. So after queen g5, we have the move king to f8 in the game, and after rook e5, simply threatening to go for rook f5, winning the queen. Have the move queen g6 and queen f4, which forced resignation for black because white's going to pick up the queen next, either with rook f5 or rook g5. Depends on what's black move is, because here rook f5 will win the queen, and if the king goes on the g file, there is rook g5, pinning the queen. funny to see that the queen was actually one move away from checkmating, but due to the pin, white is simply winning. So yeah, I think that idea against the this Dutch with g6 and then h4, just pay very close attention to the move order, okay? Because if you're starting with knight f3, it's no longer going to be the same thing. So important to play with e3 and notice that this diagonal is open. So if g6 and h4 is really promising. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. In the upcoming video on the channel, we're going to see what happens if black plays h6. So a little spoiler, white has a very interesting idea with queen f3, but okay, I just gave you that in order to subscribe to the channel so you're not going to miss that video. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and yeah, make sure to watch the next videos. So take care.